My name is Danielle Del Sol, and I'm the Executive Director of the Preservation Resource Center of New Orleans. Our number one economic driver in New Orleans is tourism, for better or for worse. That's what we've got. And a huge reason that people come to New Orleans is because we look and feel like a city unlike any other. And the reason we look and feel like that is because we have miles and miles of historic buildings, big and small, and all of them contribute to this wonderfully diverse landscape that creates our really unique city. Within those miles and miles, we have distinct neighborhoods that all have their different characteristics and flair. And again, those are created in large part by our historic buildings. One of the main reasons that people come to New Orleans is because we look like New Orleans. And if you demolish enough buildings, we stop looking like New Orleans and our neighborhoods change, the character of our neighborhoods change. And so it's really important for our economy to preserve historic buildings. Now, that doesn't mean that they always have to be what they always were. We have fabulous adaptive reuse projects throughout the city where old churches have become condos or have become, a theater or a school. We have old schools that have been turned into apartment complexes. Really great creative ways of reusing our historic buildings for modern use. We love that. And it gives all the more character to these buildings. And that's another part of our economy, is that you can go to wonderfully chic and sexy restaurants that are in these really old houses or historic churches, and people love the ambiance that's created in these historic buildings. So there's a level of authenticity that is kind of priceless, if that makes sense. So that's from the tourism aspect. But what about those of us who live here? Well, it's hard to live in New Orleans. You have hurricanes coming at you for several months out of the year. If you've ever been to New Orleans, you know that we were built on a swamp. So there's potholes everywhere. The sidewalks are a mess. There are issues that make it difficult to call this place home at times. But there's also so much magic here that makes it all worth it. And a huge part of that is our historic buildings. There's beauty everywhere, walking down the street, walking in your neighborhood. And that is really, again, priceless. And that's a huge reason that it's wonderful to live in New Orleans. So the work that we do is geared towards, keeping people visiting here, but also keeping residents having a high quality of life. There have been many studies done that say that residential homes that are within a National Register of Historic Places district enjoy higher resale values. And so there's higher property values overall for homes within a National Register district. We have 23 National Register districts here in New Orleans. So the majority of our city is within a district, which is really great for property owners to enjoy that higher resale value. My advice is to find help. We've created a DIY culture here in our society with, the popularity of HGTV and, some of these other media outlets. And being able to DIY is great to a certain point, but a house is like an ecosystem. And when you have historic materials, especially, historic materials respond well to some products and they do not respond well to other products. Historic brick is a great example. The brick that we have in New Orleans that was used to build buildings, that are historic, which we just classify as 50 years or older, but most buildings here, most houses are older than that. The brick used to build these buildings is soft. So a lot of people don't know how to properly repoint this brick. They might just buy a bag of Portland cement and slather it over the brick and think, oh, there we go, I fixed my brick. Well, unfortunately, Portland cement is really hard. And what that does is as the brick expands and contracts with the moisture in the air, if it's up against rock solid Portland cement, it will degrade the brick. The brick will start to slough off and you'll just see dust everywhere, brick dust everywhere. And so what we've actually done by using this inappropriate material is lessened the lifespan of your brick. So, what you need to do is you need to actually use a lime-based mortar that will breathe with the brick, that will absorb moisture and dry out with the brick. That's, again, not intuitive. You wouldn't know that by just going to a hardware store. So, people who buy historic properties either need to come to a organization like the PRC in their town that has information on how to maintain historic properties, or they need to find a contractor or handyman who has proven experience working with historic properties properly. Because when you use when you replace a wood window with a vinyl window in a historic home that has original hardwoods, and suddenly you've changed this integral part of the ecosystem, it can actually cause problems here and there in ways that you didn't expect. So historic houses require a little bit more thoughtful care, and to do the research and to find the right people to help you along the way. But it pays off in the end, because your house will last all the longer once you do that work properly. So the French Quarter was the original city of New Orleans. Everything else outside of the French Quarter in the late 1700s was country or swamp. And so that is our original city, and the city built out from there in all directions. And so the neighborhoods around the French Quarter, such as the Treme and the Faubourg Marigny, those are some of our oldest neighborhoods. And in those neighborhoods, you will find one of the earliest forms of kind of prolific residential architecture, which is called a Creole cottage. And a Creole cottage is easily identified by its 4 openings on the front, typically 2 windows and 2 doors. And it was literally a square, no frills, 4 rooms lined up 2 and 2. And in the back, you'd have what we call a loggia, which is kind of like a covered porch. And back there, you'd store fresh food. You might sleep out there. There could also be sleeping quarters upstairs. So it was a very utilitarian layout. No extra square footage wasted on things like hallways or anything like that. A little bit later form that came really in the 1800s was the shotgun house. And you will find shotgun houses all across the city in all forms. Shotgun doubles, that's what you would call a duplex anywhere else. But that's where, you have literally in the middle of the house, you have a divider. So it's 2 units, each have a front door and a window. So again, 4 bays on the front, 4 openings on the front, 2 doors and 2 windows. But a shotgun house, instead of being arranged like a square, it's linear. So you have one room goes into the other all the way to the back. So you might walk in and it's a living room, a dining room, a bedroom. You walk through the bedroom because, again, no hallways, maximizing square footage. And then you'll have a kitchen and a bathroom at the back. But shotguns come in all varieties. Like I said, you could have a double, which is 2 units, a single, which is just 1. You have a camelback, which is what we call the upstairs, of any sort of size. You might have a side hall that's open. So shotguns are, a wonderful architectural form because they're very adaptable. You can adapt them to whatever your family sizes or needs are. And it's actually kind of the original affordable housing here in New Orleans. You'd buy a shotgun house, you'd live on one side, you'd rent out the other side and pay your mortgage with that rent. Or you'd have generational living. You'd have the grandparents on one side and the family with kids on the other side, and you'd have that help with childcare, that sort of thing. So shotguns are still prolific. They are, they make up a huge percentage of our residential housing. And then we have larger styles. We have cottages of all sort of architectural styles, like 1920s bungalows, kind of more California style. And we have Spanish Revival style throughout the city that, might kind of remind you of like Coral Gables or something like that. And then we have the larger, grander homes. Center hall cottages are beautiful raised homes that have a big center hall with the rooms on either side. And then, for any of you who have been to New Orleans, we just have beautiful mansions. You can imagine going down St. Charles Avenue and seeing all manner of styles that were popular in the late 1800s and early 1900s, Queen Anne and Tudor and all those sorts of wonderful styles kind of made into, blended with some of our vernacular styles. Because we have such a hot climate, a lot of our architecture was designed to breathe and to circulate air really well. So, for example, in a shotgun house, every door will have what's called a transom above it, which is an operable window that you can just kind of flip open a little bit. And so that will encourage you're able to keep your doors closed and locked for safety purposes, but you open these transoms and you will have a breeze that goes throughout the home, circulating air all day, which is especially important in the summer months. Well, please visit our website, prcno.org. And the pandemic has forced us in a good way to go digital with pretty much everything we do. So we have lots of classes that you can sign up for that talk about maintaining historic properties and all the different facets of that. You can join us for a virtual home tour, which is really fun. We actually this month are starting our shotgun house tour. So we have 6 shotgun houses that we are touring throughout the month of June. So that's a fun experience for people to join us with. And then, like I said, we have guides to every historic neighborhood in the city that include walking or biking paths with sites of interest along the way. So we are a wealth of information on our website. And then in a more fun sense, please follow us on social media. Our Instagram especially is beloved for, our never-ending supply of gorgeous photographs of historic homes to brighten your day and inspire you. So you can follow us on Instagram. We also are active on Facebook and Twitter. And so just search Preservation Resource Center of New Orleans and you will find us.